welcome to the Hooked on Needles Craftcast. My name is Maricela, or Mari if you prefer. Today is August 9th, 2018, and this is episode 34. It's so nice to see you guys again. I hope you're doing well. I have quite a bit to show you, and yeah, I've just been kind of busy, so let's get started. Quite a few finished objects, and I will start off with my palette cleanser that I like to do from time to time, just because sometimes I need a breather and I don't want to think about any other projects that I have going on. And so usually it's a dishcloth or a hat. This time it's this beautiful dishcloth. It is called Water Lily. I'm calling it a dishcloth, but I think it's more of a pot holder because it's quite big. Look, it's as big as my face. I found this on Ravelry. It is a free pattern. You go to her blog and then the directions are there. It is very nicely explained and it is beautiful. You never cut your yarns. You just kind of carry them, and I wanted to show you guys. This is if you carry it once in a while right here. You can see that big old thread. This one's if you carry it, if you loop it every time, you get this kind of spirally thing. And I think my favorite way was this one, and I believe I carried it over like every other stitch right here. So yeah, super simple. Like I said, she does a great job explaining it, and excuse me, and yeah, if you need a little palette cleanser, this is it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I believe those are the ones I will be making quite a few of those in future episodes for Christmas gifts, because it's so beautiful. So yeah, finished the Astrid hat. It is such a beautiful little I think it is a cable, but it's super easy. I couldn't decide if this was hard or if I just really enjoyed it, because I always wanted to do this when I was by myself. Like, I didn't want to be bothered by it. And at first I thought, oh, maybe I'm just really needing to concentrate. But I think I just really enjoyed knitting on this by myself with nobody bothering me, because it really wasn't that hard. Like, I think it started off with me thinking it was hard because I had to cross the stitches or whatever, and I wasn't using a cable needle or anything. So in my head it was coming out to be, it was harder than it really was. So yeah, but this is the Astrid hat. I got it out of this book. And I ended up using a whole skein of this yarn. This is Carlton's Merino Supreme. And I had to break in very slightly of the second skein. But I really liked working with this wool. It's super soft. And I was a little bit annoyed at it because I was like, I'm really just using this to have to get another skein just to close up the top, but it's fine. So it is really beautiful, and like I said, I really enjoyed that knit. And then I will start off the sock parade. I finally finished off these. That will be for one of my loved ones. I used the Peyton's Croix turquoise stripes for these. I did have to break into a second ball as well, and I would say I have about half of the skein left, or the little ball left. So I could definitely do some shorties with these, maybe if I do different heels, toes, and cuffs. And so I used Judy's Magic Cast On, did 72 stitches, used the OMG heel, and did a 2x2 rib up to the top, and I did the alternative to Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off, which is definitely my preferred method. So yeah, there we go. Let me move all of my finished objects over here. Okay, and then I also finished up my son's socks, and with him was really funny. I was expecting to knit a lot more than what I did, but he tried them on and he was like, no, this is good, because he thought he liked longer socks, and then he tried them on and he was looking through his socks and he's like, but all my socks are not very long. And I was like, I know, that's why I didn't know why you wanted these, because he said he wanted long socks. So then now, after trying them on, he was like, no, we're good. So it does go over his ankle bone, but they're more like ankle socks on him, and he was more than happy. They are a little bit long right here at the toe, which I am fine with because he is a growing boy and he will grow into them. So it's fine. I haven't let him wear them yet because I was like, I need to show them. And here they are. Did Judy's 10 stitches with using, or 20 stitches using Judy's Magic Cast On, and I went up to 54 stitches. I did the OMG heel, and again 3x1 rib up until there where I switched to a 2x2, and the alternative to Jenny's Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off. That is my sock recipe that I really enjoy. And then I also finished up this pair of the Rose City rollers. This was leftover yarn that I had from my Zorzel, from the Fiber Studio in Painted Elephant and Harvest. And when my friend came over a little while ago, and we were just knitting and chatting, and she was working on some Rose City rollers, and she was looking at my pairs or my socks, and she was like, how come your gusset stitches are so much smaller? Like, you have such a smaller gusset than I do. And she's like, are you skipping a step or what's up? And I was like, I don't think I am. So she got me thinking about that. But I don't think I'm missing a step. And then I also kind of sort of finished these. These were the ones that I just plain vanilla as well. Started it off with 28 stitches, Judy's Magic Cast On, go up to 64, and these do not have a heel because I want to try a true afterthought. But I was thinking it was scary because I've never done that before. I've never cut my knitting. So yeah, hesitation here all the way. But then I did something that made me realize it might not be that scary. The only thing that now I'm worried about is the fact that I have black yarn. So maybe I'm gonna see if I can do it. I don't know. I have to try them on and see where it's gonna work. But I'm hoping that it'll land on the yellow stripe. I mean, on the yellow stripe. This does not have yellow stripes. On the purple stripe. I swear I know my colors, I think. Anyways, and yeah, so I'm going to try True Afterthought. So they're kind of done, kind of not done. I don't know. These don't know what they are. And I feel like there needs to be like this big announcement thing, because I finally finished the flax sweater for my little boy. Finally, after working on it for like a year, that same day that my friend came over, she was like, hey, just curious, how is the sweater for your son coming along? And I was like, it's not really coming along. And I was like, if I show it to you, one, I'm gonna be so ashamed, and two, it's gonna be like ridiculous. And she was like, why? Like, show me. So then I pull out the sweater, and all I needed to do for one was literally just the cuff. That's it. Like, just the ribbing. That's all that needed to be left, or needed to be done. And then on the other one, I think it was like this much, something ridiculous, like only a couple rows, and then the ribbing. So I was like, this is so ridiculous and shameful, because I'm just not picking it up for whatever reason. Like, it's practically done. I just need to buckle down and do it. So I'm glad she did, though, because then I was able to finish up. I finished up the one that needed the most work that night, and then the next morning I finished up the ribbing. And I used tubular bind off on the sleeves, because I wanted it to be stretchy but not too, you know, because like if you just did a regular bind off, it was going to be not stretchy at all. And then I didn't want to do the alternate to Jenny Surprisingly bind off, because I thought it might flare more for the cuffs. And so I had heard quite a few people say that they do the tubular bind off for sleeves, and so I decided to give it a try, and I think it came out perfect and beautifully. And you can't really appreciate that stitch with this yarn because it changes colors too much, but I think they look great. And little boy tried it on. The sleeves are a little bit long, which I think is fine, and the body fits well. So all should be good. He should at least be able to wear it this year. And then I don't know if I'll knit him another one. My grandmother was a vest kind of gal. She knitted vests, and she always said like, oh, I just can't handle sleeves. But one, this was way before circular needles, and two, she was also like, she didn't have YouTube to show her how to set in the sleeves. So I feel like had she had a little bit more help or resources with her knitting, she would have loved to make sweaters, because she made so many vests for everyone. And I'm pretty sure I've already talked about her and her vests, because we have those still, and hopefully they will get passed down to my children's children, if my children ever have children. But yeah, and we're talking hopefully at least another 10 years from now, because yeah. Anyways, so finally finished the flax, and I really loved these colors. I like the way that I mixed them, having the two different solids and the dark in the middle. I think worked out beautifully. And then I ended up just using the dark on the sleeves because I ran out of the other yarn, which was fine. And this is all that's left of the two other colors. Like, I don't know, not very much of either. And I was cutting it close and I was like, oh my gosh, but I made it. So that's nice. And then that is all the finished works in progress. I'll start off with the derecho. I finally cast on for section 7. Oh, really should open these. But yeah, I finally cast on for section 7. I still love it. It's so squishy and beautiful, woolly-ful. And yeah, I have section 7 to do, and then the border. And I still enjoy it. But this will be taking a back seat for a little bit because my sister's birthday is coming up and I really wanted to make her the Pebble Beach shawl. Here is the Pebble Beach by Helen Stewart. It comes in 3 different sizes. It is a paid for pattern. Just this pattern, I believe, is $5. I ended up getting the bundle where you get 5 patterns for like, I think it was 13 or 14 US dollars. So I thought that was worth it. And there are a couple more in the bundle that I would like to do. So I feel like if I make 3 different shawls, it'll be worth it already. So yeah, so I decided to cast that on for my sister. I just casted it on last night. This is what I have. Here it is. And I am using the Malabrigo sock, I believe it is. It's all tangled up. Yeah, Malabrigo sock in the color Caribeño or Caribbean. And there are 440 yards. So I am going to do the small size. It comes in 3 different sizes. And I would have liked to do a medium at least, but I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn. And I don't really want to go get another skein and then have to alternate skeins because that's a pain in the butt, especially me knitting the derecho right now. Like, I'm alternating skeins like all the time. It's not as hard as I'm making it seem. I just really don't want to do that. So yeah, so I think the small one is what I'm going to end up with. She calls for, she says to do it on needles that are 4 millimeters, but I am using 3.75 millimeters. Then I'm using my interchangeable Chow Goose. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because I tend to have loose gauge anyways, and so I felt like just one size down wouldn't be too much of a difference. So that is what I am doing. And so this will be the shawl that will be taking my attention for right now because I really want to have it done by her birthday, and her birthday is in September, and September gets closer every day. So yeah. And I have also done some progress on the Toe Up Totem socks, and these actually will be going to my niece. She came over a couple weeks ago and I showed them to her and I thought she would like them, and she did. So these will be going to her, and I'm doing a heel flap and gusset with this one, but this one I guess is gusset, heel, flap. Because right now I'm doing it backwards, which I've never done that before. And yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I guess I have done it before. I used the fleegle heel, which technically I guess that's what it would count as, but I don't think the fleegle heel has a heel flap. I think you just increase and decrease like short rows. I'm not sure, I don't remember. But yeah, so these will be for her. And yeah, these I definitely do like to have time for because I don't want to mess up anymore. And then I have been wanting to work with this yarn for a while, so I just decided now was the time to wind it and use it because I was just going crazy because I love this color. I don't know the name of it. This was one of Megan from Toe Creations, one of her first creations when she first started dyeing yarn, and I just really loved it. I really liked the other yarn that I had gotten from her, and so with the green it was just so beautiful. So I just cast on a sock, again Judy's Magic cast on, increased to 64 stitches for me, and this is what it looks like. It's just plain vanilla. And yeah, and I am also that day that my friend came over and we were discussing the whole gusset thing, I was like, now it's bugging me, I need to cast on and check. So I cast on another Rose City roller just to check my gusset decreases, and came to the conclusion that the reason why my heel and my gusset decreases are much smaller than hers is because I think I am knitting at a tighter gauge than she is, and she's using larger needles than I am when she knits hers. So therefore, bigger needles, looser gauge equals bigger heel flap gusset stuff. So there you go. Because I was very careful to follow the directions for this one, and no, I did not do anything wrong. It's just I knit tighter and, like I said, have smaller needles. So that was the conclusion, because I was like, I promise you I'm not doing anything different. And so yeah, so I really am not. I made sure of it. So there we go. And this one I'm using my Happy Dance colorway from Rock and Strings, and I am loving them. For the longest time I did not know what to make with this yarn because I was like, I don't know, I just didn't know what to make with it. And so when I finally cast these on, I was like, oh, they're perfect. So chances are they're both, I'm gonna have plenty left for at least 2 pairs. So most likely they will both be, I will do 2 pairs of Rose City rollers and just give one away. And then I dyed up some yarn a couple weeks ago just because I wanted to. And so I made this super bright yarn. I did use just food coloring, and I love it, even though it's like wild and crazy and loud and bright. I like it. And so I started on some socks, Neville socks by Erica Luder, and I'm doing them, or I was doing them 2 at a time, but with the yarn being super bright and loud and the color changes coming up so quick, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going with them or if I wanted to just knit them up vanilla. This is what it would look like vanilla. So I think because Neville socks are quite busy themselves, like just the pattern is a busy pattern, I think I will be ripping them back. I did ask suggestions from a couple people, and yeah, they say going with plain vanilla would be best for this loud colors. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end up ripping back and just doing either vanilla or maybe just like a slip stitch pattern or something. Nothing too wild and crazy. So yeah, so those will be frogged. And then I started on some socks for one of my loved ones, which is my uncle, using the Cascade Heritage prints that I got when I went to West 7th Wool, and I cast both of them on. As you can see, here's one and here's two. But as you can see, I went back to pick up stitches because we went to visit my sister, and we were sitting there, and I'm knitting, and I was knitting on this one, and then my nephew said, "Oh, that looks like a small sock." And I was like, "It looks small to you, but it's gonna fit perfectly." And so then I told my daughter, I was like, "Can you believe your cousin said these look like small socks?" And she goes, "That one looks like a small sock." I was like, "What do you mean?" So then I decided to count my stitches because it should be a 72 count, and it wasn't. It was a 64. So I am glad that my nephew said something now, when first I was like, "How dare you, nephew?" But now I'm like, well, at least he noticed, and I was like, okay. So he noticed, my daughter noticed, and then I will be fixing it. So because I went back to pick up these stitches, I came to the realization that once picking up stitches for this will not be all that difficult as I thought it was going to be. So now I'm, like I said, and I'm no longer afraid of picking up the stitches. I'm going to be afraid of the cutting and the fact that I have to work with black yarn, but I will get over it. It will be okay. So yeah, this one again will be ripped back. Look, I can do it in front of you guys. But yeah, so all that work will have to come out, and that is okay because I do want them to fit my uncle, not for my uncle to be like, "What? Why is this one sock super tight and the other one isn't?" And yeah, so that is all I have. Oh, I did dye up some other yarn. This is just Peyton's Croy I dyed up. And this I dyed for my sister. My daughter and I dyed it up for my sister because she saw this yarn and was like, "Oh my gosh, is that for my socks?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And she's like, "I love it," which she does. She loves these colors. And so I kind of went and played off of that and did a little bit more green on this one. So these will become her socks, and this will be her Pebbles Beach. So Pebble Beach shawl socks for sister. So yeah, and like I said, these I'm not too worried about. I think I'm gonna start whenever, because I have till Christmas, but her shawl I definitely want to finish for her birthday. And I've also been working on this one, but I stopped. I am on the last row, and I stopped because the pattern says this is a free pattern on Ravelry. or red heart. This is the mandala doily. So the pattern tells you to go and wrap around the stitch, like the 2 rows below. But I don't really like it that way. So I was like, well, what if I don't wrap it? If I just stick it in there? So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing, ripping back and doing it the way I like it better, because this just looks too weird for me. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. And this is the last row. This is all I have to this point, and this thing got so big. It is huge, but it is lovely. Like I said before, my kids chose all the colors, so it is quite different. But I love it. So yeah, and we have quite a big coffee table, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna fit on there perfectly. And okay, that really is all that I have. If you don't want to stay for a little bit of chat, then thank you so much for watching, and I hope you come back. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. And subscribe. Or we can do a little chat. The kids finally went back to school. I have a 9th grader and a 3rd grader, and it was very interesting. They were both excited, but my older one was very nervous. That's my girl, and she was just being a teenage girl, worrying about. And then her best friend moved over the summer to California. We live in Georgia, so we're on total opposites of the United States sides, and we're on totally opposite sides of the United States. I can speak proper English. Anyway, so yeah, so she's been really bummed about that, just because you know, she was excited that they were gonna be in high school together and everything, but I'm like, well, that's just the way stuff goes sometimes. And I was like, but why are you so worried about it? Like, with social media now, like, you guys have phones that you can talk to each other all the time, text, Instagram. Like, back in my day, you had to give someone your phone number. And I mean, we had phone numbers, right? Like, way back when, people would have to give each other addresses and hope that nobody moved. And so I was like just comparing it to when I was younger and we had phone numbers, and we would hope that we didn't change our phone numbers or give each other addresses, and again, hope that they didn't move so that we could talk to each other. And yeah, we actually moved quite a few times. So I, like, when she gets nervous about the moves and stuff, I'm like, it's fine. Like, I don't know if it didn't bother me so much having to move. Like, I never worried about whether I was gonna make friends or not, or like the changes. I just kind of rolled with the punches, I guess. And you know, I don't know, like, that just, it was never something that worried me. And with her, she's definitely like, I gotta start over again, and I, you know, like, nobody's gonna know me, and they're all gonna know each other because they went through all middle school together, and here I am coming out of nowhere. And I was like, well, that's how it was in 6th grade, and you were fine, you made friends, so it's just gonna happen again, you know, slowly you're gonna make friends, just calm down. And so the first couple of days were rough, just because she was like, sat by myself again, and I'm like, it's fine, it'll be okay, just you know, don't worry about it so much. And so now she's like, oh, so and so is talking to me, and now we're buddies, and now this, and I'm talking to this person and that person. And I was like, see, I told you, like, it really is not like the end of the world, but you know, she's a teenager, everything's the end of the world. So yeah, so she is making friends and she's liking her classes, and I am kind of having a little bit of a tough time because she's always been in advanced classes, and before we moved schools for her, she would have been in all like honors classes in high school. But since we moved, they didn't have all of the paperwork yet when we went to register her, and so she got put in just regular classes, which, you know, is not bad or anything, but I feel like for her, who's always been in advanced classes, I don't know if it's gonna be like difficult enough, because she has always, like, she gets bored easily if she because she's a quick learner, and so sometimes, like, they'll talk about something 3 days and she's like, I'm over this, why are we still talking about it? And so I'm just hoping that she's not gonna get too bored with the classes. And so I was telling her that I wouldn't mind going to the school and, you know, talking to them and getting them to change her to honors classes. But she's like, well, I'm already in this far. Like, it just seems kind of silly for me to change classes now. Can we just wait this semester? And I was like, okay. So we came up with, we're gonna wait the semester out, and then next semester I will be going and talking to them to see if she can get honors classes in the other subjects that she still needs. Although I think she's taking a lot of her like core classes, not many, because she's taking all of her core class, or not all of them, but a lot of her core classes this semester. And so the way that their high school works is they take 4 classes the first semester and 4 classes the second semester. The way they recommend is to take 2 core classes each semester and 2 what we call electives or specials or whatever, like art or band or something. Although she was in orchestra, and she was really bummed because this high school doesn't offer orchestra as a special or elective. And she was really, really bummed out about that because she loves music. And in middle school, she was doing both band and orchestra. And when we went in to register her, they were like, well, we do offer band if you want to do that. But she was like, no, orchestra is where my heart is, and I don't want to try out for band. So that kind of also is a bummer, but you know, it's okay. I told her to just keep an eye out for any other extracurricular that she would want to try, and then we will go from there. And then my little one is all grown up. The school he was going to before, it was a pick up and drop off only school. And so now, although I could pick him up and drop him off, he does have the choice to ride the bus. And I was a little worried because he can get a little wild sometimes. And I just didn't want him to get himself into trouble, or, you know. So I was kind of hesitant about him riding the bus. We're not too far from his school, so I was like, it's fine. I can pick him up and drop him off. It doesn't matter. But he was like, is it possible for me to ride the bus? And I was like, okay, we can give it a try, but you need to behave. if everything goes well, then you can keep riding the bus. So he has been riding the bus. And like 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, I was talking to my sister and I was like, I'm waiting for the day where he tells me that I don't need him. Like, he doesn't need me to pick him up at the bus stop, because I'm here, so I don't mind going and waiting for him. And so the day after I told her that, we're walking back from the bus stop and he's like, Mom. And I was like, yes, hun, what is it? And he was like, we're not too far from the bus stop. We don't live too far from it. And all the other moms don't go and wait for their kids at the bus. And if you stayed home, you could stay home and knit while I walk home by myself from the bus stop. And I was like, And so here he is, slowly breaking my heart, because I have, abandonment issues with my kids. Even though I always put up the front of like, whatever, kid, I don't care about you. But they're my kids and I love them. And so, yeah. Anyway, so he finally said that to me. And like I said, my heart broke. And so that was the day before yesterday. And then yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm not going to walk all the way to the bus stop. I'll just, go halfway. So I walked out there. I was kind of lingering, checking the mailbox for mail. And he's like, Mom, I told you I could do it by myself. Go back home. I can do it. I can do it. So I walked home very slowly from the mailbox to our house. But yeah, and then he was like, tomorrow you don't have to come out at all. Like, just wait for me inside. And I was like, can we compromise? Can I wait for you on the porch, like where I can see you getting down from the bus and walking home? Like, that would make me feel better. And it really is not that far, but I'm just like, oh. And it was so funny because when he was trying to convince me to let him walk home, he was like, hey sister, don't you think I'm old enough? I'm almost 8. How old were you when you were walking home by yourself? And she was like, I was not 8. I was like 9 or 10. Mom wouldn't let me walk by myself. And I got me thinking, like, yeah, because I've always been home. And I'm like, well, I'm here for you guys. You're all my reason for being here. So, yeah, but he is definitely doing things a lot sooner than my older one. And that really bugs her, because she's like, how old was I when you let me do this? How old was I when you let me do this? And he's doing it now. And so she gets a little upset about that. But I don't know. I feel like that's just the way it is, no? Because like I'm the fourth of 4 children, the last of them, and I do feel like I did stuff a lot sooner than my siblings. And I don't know if it's because, like, as you have more kids, you kind of realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't make such a big deal out of this, and it's okay, they will survive or whatever. And yeah, like, there were times where I had to explain things to my sisters that really they should have been explaining to me. And we joke about that, because the other day my sister was like, hey, I don't know about this, can you explain it to me? And I was like, sure. So I explained it to her. And then she was like, I never knew that. And I was like, I'm sorry. I completely forgot that I needed to be your older sister and explain stuff to you. Like, what's going on here? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's fine. So yeah, I just find that funny that, a lot of the times I have to explain stuff to my sisters and they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, you guys, really. But anyways, All right, I think that is enough time for me. Thank you very, very much for coming to spend a little time with me. I very, very much appreciate it. I hope you guys have a lovely couple of weeks. And just take deep breaths if stuff gets hard. And, you know, life keeps going. We just need to appreciate and every moment that we get, regardless of how long it is, because, you know, it's just the way it is. And so, yeah, take care. A big, big hug to everyone, and hasta la próxima.